as soon as I would put on a song, it would make me feel like a very intense or formative experience had happened yesterday, even if it had been years and years before. Something that just immediately evokes like a response. Hey, I'm Gracie Abrams, and today I'm going to talk about my album, The Secret of Us, with Diffuse.
How was the songwriting process of your new album, The Secret of Us, like?
Very just in flow at my house with my best friend and co-writer, Audrey Hobart. We have known each other forever, and we wrote most of the songs together. And being roommates, a lot of the songs came from conversations that we were having, kind of just about our experiences and relationships and feelings in real time. I made the whole thing also with Aaron Dessner again, and he's been a collaborator and dear friend of mine for a few years now and feels like family. So the whole thing was kind of made with people who I just trust deeply and felt like less dedicated studio time and more like every time I went in, we had been collecting a bunch of songs from our couch at home.
What are the advantages of writing songs with your best friend?
It's just a lucky kind of relationship to be able to have with someone where you can just show up and not be afraid of saying anything. And also, I think because we know each other so well, there's nowhere to hide. Like, she knows when I'm feeling something, she can just like sense it. So it got to the core of a lot of feelings, and then we were from there able to kind of like lean into the drama of being in your mid-20s and kind of falling in love. And I was never afraid to look embarrassing, I suppose, which is a relief.
In what way does The Secret of Us differ from your last album, Good Riddance?
Good Riddance is very introverted, and I wrote most of it very quietly, just even the way that I was performing the songs as I was writing them. It was like being alone in a room. And then The Secret of Us, the feelings were louder. They were just, it felt like I had kind of like alarms going off in my head all the time throughout the process of writing The Secret of Us. And it felt more appropriate to kind of scream through a lot of the songs a bit more than I ever had before. I think a lot of that has to do with writing with someone that, in a really positive way, enables that energy. But The Secret of Us is more extroverted.
What aspects of music hold personal significance for you?
What I appreciate in music is when it feels really conversational and when overwhelming feelings or concepts are kind of like formatted in a way that you don't need to necessarily think so wildly deeply about to understand the core of something. And I suppose I just appreciate accessible music that evokes almost like a sensory response, I suppose. Like all of my favorite music growing up, as soon as I would put on a song, it would make me feel like I was back somewhere, like, you know, as if a very intense or formative experience had happened yesterday, even if it had been years and years before. Something that just immediately evokes like a response.
What impact has Joni Mitchell had on your life?
I grew up with her music playing in the house constantly. My mom has always loved her music, as I feel like does the rest of the universe. And before I even understood what she was talking about, there was something about the tone of her voice and how stripped back and thoughtful everything was that just felt really grounding as a kid. And when I started writing music myself, she was someone that I would constantly listen to, kind of almost as like a form of meditation, really, because I feel really in my body when I'm listening to her music. I think she is someone who has always known herself so well as a writer and an artist and seemingly as a person, and that alone is really inspiring to me. I feel like growing up with her music in the house is such a lucky thing. Yeah, she's the greatest of all time, really.
How is working with Aaron Dessner as a producer like?
He's the best because he's like very encouraging of me believing in my immediate instincts, but also kind of like expanding my skills from, you know, writing more experimental stuff to getting a grip on production. This record was the first one that I co-produced on, and I got to learn so much in an environment that I feel so safe in. He's like, touch everything, play everything, you know what I mean? And his studio feels like a second home at this point, really. He just like is a really good person who comes from like a real place and who knows himself. And he's an unbelievable artist, an amazing listener, and an excellent friend, and is a really cool person.
How does it feel to be part of the Eras Tour?
It's magical. It's pretty impossible to compare that tour to anything, which is why, I mean, it's like this unprecedented, really kind of historic experience that she's built off, you know, the back of 18 years of putting out music. And again, is another example, a great example of someone who knows themselves so well and leans into that in order to make, again, really big feelings feel really like, you know, kind of like in an amazing way, easy to access. And I think that that's what's so epic about the Eras Tour is like you see in real time the effect that her music has, like multi-generationally. It's just every single one of her songs is kind of like a pillar in all of our, you know, in our lives, you know, from the perspective of an artist and a writer and a performer, but also as like a business person, like the way that she goes about every single, you know, like opportunity to perform is so inspiring, and she's just somehow able to connect with every single person in each stadium to the point where like you do often feel like it's just you and her in these massive rooms. But yeah, I just adore her, and yeah, very lucky to be in her orbit in that capacity.
Are you excited for your own tour?
It's really lucky because it's like completely no longer about me at all. It feels like I get to be face to face with a community of people that I've gotten to know in my mind quite well over the past few years of putting out music. And it's people that I look up to and think are really, really cool. And it's a group of people that are down to like gather and be really loudly expressive about their lives and their experiences and their feelings. And so for this tour coming up, because this album is kind of by miles the most extroverted one I've made, I've never been more excited to play a show because I had that community in mind the entire time I was writing it. And we've kind of been growing up together over the past few years, like a lot of us are kind of the same age. So I think selfishly it'll be really cathartic to kind of be loud about a lot of these feelings, but also I just really want them to be proud of the show that we put on. Everyone that I am lucky enough to tour with, everyone who's on stage and off stage, they're such exceptional people, and so I'm really proud to be able to just get on an elevated surface and be like, these are my friends who I get to work with. Like that alone is really rad. But yeah, just to gather again, I've missed everyone's faces over here a lot.